A very warm welcome to you wherever you are in the world at this moment in time. My name's Ashanti Bentil-Dew. I'm the CEO of EventMind. And for the next little while, I'll be taking you through some proven strategies that can guide eventpreneurs in buying the right platform for your clients' event needs in this very complicated, unpredictable, uncertain time that we're currently living in. So what are we going to be talking about exactly? Well, we are going to be looking at the state of the event technology market and landscape at the moment. We'll touch upon the fact that buyer personas have changed largely. And we're then going to talk about what are the risks to choosing the wrong technology for your online event, and how do we make good, wise, and cost-effective decisions. What strategy should we be looking at? What touch points should we be aware of in this new world? So buckle up. Honestly, if you have any questions whatsoever, please feel free to ask them. I'm happy to address those questions. So as I say, my name's Ashanti Bentil-Dew. One of the things is my kind of mission is to make online events simple through unbiased, transparent advice about buying event technology. So it's estimated that 75% of all events will be online by 2024. Now, if you're anything like me and you live on LinkedIn, you may have seen the discussions, the debates, etc., about whether or not virtual events are here to stay, live versus, virtual. What's the longevity of it? Is this a flash in the pan? Is this a trend? Are we all just eagerly waiting for live events to come back and then forget virtual events? Well, the studies and the research that we're seeing right now are saying otherwise. So, we can talk about definitions of virtual. We can talk about virtues and also disadvantages of virtual. But one thing that is becoming ever clearer is that virtual will remain in whatever shape or form a company needs it to be as a tool that will be used by marketing teams. We've seen brands like L'Oreal, YSL. We've seen charities and not-for-profit organizations really lean into digital experiences and virtual events this year. And they are reporting that despite the challenges around adapting and pivoting, they are seeing an uprise in their collaboration, in their community building, and the reach that they're having with potential donors, clients, and also their employees. So 75% of events will be online by 2024. Now, what are some of the other factors you should probably be aware of when it comes to event technology and the landscape? Well, for companies that are actively working on their carbon footprint and reducing that, companies that really care about their corporate social responsibility, about sustainability, but also accessibility to its content and the experience that their employees have when they're learning and training within the work environment, they will seriously be looking at keeping virtual as part of the employee engagement mix. So in 2018, because some of us may well have been running digital events for longer than this COVID period, we saw that the size of the virtual events market was about $1 billion. Now the projections are that by 2026, it's going to double. Okay, so that gives us a good idea about whether this is a thing that will remain. But the problem is we have a landscape of event technology that is very varied. Okay, so we have our pre-COVID event technology companies who may have focused on-site technology. Okay, we then have event technology companies that emerged really, that pivoted during the COVID period. And what that meant was they introduced adaptations, software, features and functions that really allowed for virtual and online events. And what we're starting to see already is that those companies are looking ahead at hybrid events and ensuring that they stay relevant for their clients and communities. Now, what's the challenge then? Well, first of all, there are now over 100 event, and I'll be very specific here, virtual event-based platforms. In terms of event technology companies as a whole, you're looking at over 300. And that number continues to grow because not only do you have your pre-COVID companies, the ones that emerged out of COVID, but you also have the developer-based companies. Every single day, we're seeing and being contacted by new virtual event platforms, streaming platforms. In addition to that, you may have noticed that social media platforms like Twitch are really, really popular and continue to grow their customer base. Very recently, Pinterest talked about introducing an online event feature. Instagram, a platform that is used in digital marketing now, has introduced other features like guides. It's only a matter of time. The likes of Spotify have talked about venturing into the online event space. YouTube already allows for live streaming. And we've seen many, many organizations who run, for example, award shows. You know, in the UK, the MOBO Awards were streamed virtually this year. The Screen Nation Awards were screened virtually. And many other well-known cultural events have used platforms like YouTube to stream their annual events. So we are seeing that every single day, the number of platforms and technologies and software available across the scene, whether it's marketing tools, lead generation tools, or indeed destination platforms, is beginning to rise. So the question is, how do you choose? Well, on average, at EventMind, our surveying has revealed that there's an average of about 16 hours being spent by individual buyers within a company on sales demos. Okay, that means a whole 16 hours, 2.5 days a week, at least, in a month period. So 2.5 days in a month period, on average, is being spent on tech demos and in sales demos for technology. Now, if you do get yourself through all of these sales demos, you then have the challenge of choosing the right one. Okay, now really and truly, if you are in the the beginnings of looking at online events and hybrid events, for example, sales demos are probably not the place you want to find yourself, because if you're still exploring what this is all about, what the options are, what the pros and cons are, what features you absolutely need and the ones you don't, then this time being spent is too much. And then, of course, once you get through the hours spent of reviewing different technology, who do you trust? Which companies are trusted companies? Which companies can actually deliver what they're promising in those sales demos? Okay, what companies are transparent about their pricing? Which companies are transparent about the development of the technology? That is the challenge. Now, of course, in addition to that, pricing at the moment varies dramatically. Okay, so right now there isn't necessarily a barometer unless you're an experienced production house or partner. There isn't necessarily a kind of agreed middle of the road. This is how much an online event of such size and one of that size with those features should cost you. Now, don't get me wrong. The online event space is complicated. Online events are not necessarily cheap, free, or easier. However, the purchasing of the technology and the pricing as related to that does and can be much clearer. So the risks of choosing the wrong event tech for your client, expensive. And if you choose the wrong tech, particularly if you purchase an annual license and that ends up being the wrong technology, not a great thing to do. The time spent. Listen, we're all in COVID. As businesses, your clients are probably having to juggle multiple priorities. And so really and truly, do they have the time? Do you have the time to spend all of your hours going from sales demo to sales demo and coming out of it with no clearer idea of what technology to buy? That is the question. So let's get on to the to-dos rather than the not to-dos then. The first big thing is to seek unbiased advice. You'll note that I say unbiased advice here. If you go on a sales demo with a particular platform, any platform, the job, the target, the objective of that sales demo is to bring you further down the sales funnel so that you purchase. The reality is, and I can say this because we are unbiased, is the fact that that company may not or isn't necessarily going to make you aware of the other options that might be available, or the disadvantages, the drawbacks, or the potential risks for choosing that particular technology for your type of event. Running an online trade show versus running an online conference or an internal sales meeting, the requirements are different. The amount of resource you need in-house is different depending on the event. And it's something to really, really be aware of. Seek unbiased advice. In addition to that, seek advice from companies and organizations that run online events, that understand technology. Okay? That understand technology. Okay, the technology that you are purchasing on behalf of your client is like recruiting a team member. And we all know what happens when we recruit a new team member. Regardless of their experience, regardless of the skills that they possess, they're still new to your company. And that means there's actually some onboarding that has to happen when you introduce new technology into your business. And this world of online events is absolutely no different. There is an onboarding period. There is a dating period when you introduce new technology into an existing strategy, especially if you're under pressure right now. Because you may be, if you're a venue booker or you're an eventpreneur, who is choosing technology for your client, you might be new to it. We've seen many venue bookers not know where to start, even though they are pivoting into offering this very valuable and needed service to their clients at the moment. So the key is to seek unbiased advice from organizations, platforms that give actually transparent information, that are able to show you demos, able to maybe show you a dashboard, able to give you examples and case studies, okay, that are very much relevant to the type of sector you're in, but more importantly, the type of virtual, online, or hybrid event you're looking to launch and run. The second strategy is about being transparent as a team with your client about what the possibilities are. The truth is that as brilliant as technology is, there are still limitations and things to be aware of. So if you are choosing event technology right now for a client, okay, be transparent with your client about that from the get-go. Be very clear on what is possible and what is not possible. And then make sure you've gathered in the facts. You've got a hierarchy of needs, as we call it at EventMind, for what your particular client is looking for. What are they looking for specifically? Be transparent. Okay, when you are going out to event technology companies and sitting on a demo, don't give the impression, for example, that a particular feature is needed when it's not, or that the event will be much larger than it actually will be. If the answers to the questions that you're being asked are, I don't know, we are not sure, we're still figuring it out, that is fine. In fact, it's important that you mention that when you are working with a production partner, when you are on these demo calls with event technology companies. So be transparent with your client and be transparent on your search so that you make the best choice for your client. And here we are. We're talking here about hierarchy of needs. I call it hierarchy because here's the thing. There are always non-negotiables, and we need to know what those non-negotiables are from a client, or indeed if it's an in-house event. What are the things we need? What are the goals and objectives for our client? Do they have stakeholders that need to be satisfied? Media partners, sponsors, attendees? What are the key objectives here? And make sure those objectives map directly back to that return on investment. Once you've identified those key objectives and those needs, you want to stick to those. Be very firm with your client if you're choosing on their behalf, but also again on the search. Because what happens is technology can dazzle us. Whether we're new to technology or you're a bit of a geek like myself, any new feature, any update, we think, oh, that looks good. We could do with that. Oh, that would be fun. That would be interesting. We'd stand out using that. But the problem is, often these new adaptations cost money, and there might be hidden costs associated with having those features. In addition to that, you and or your clients may not have the internal resource to learn and use that technology well. And so what happens then is that you've got a great piece of tech, but you don't know how to use it. And of course, under pressure, when you've got to trim that fat, you don't end up using all of those features and functions. And so you've wasted money. So really focus in on the hierarchy of needs. Be firm with yourself and your client to make sure that you're choosing technology that meets that hierarchy of needs. The next strategy is to ask questions, and not just any questions. Okay, so you want to ask your client, what internal resource do you have? Do you have individuals who are technically competent, who have modified, customized, managed, and provided tech support before for online events with this kind of technology, for example? So ask those questions of your client. What we see quite often when people come to us is that venue bookers and also event planners, they've asked their client about the date of the event, the size of the event. But when it comes to buying the actual technology, those aren't really the salient questions. It's, what were you doing before now? What technology have you used before? What did you enjoy about using that technology? What features did you actually use? What features didn't you understand? Because those answers, the answers to those questions, that's where the gold is for you, and will help you find and select the right technology for your client. Now, when you're in the demo calls, you also need to ask the event tech company what support is available from you. What does that support actually even look like? Is that just a chat box function? Is that an email function, which is only manned between certain hours? Are the hours that the email function is manned, are they in your time zone? Or are they going to be directing you to an FAQ page on the website, which might not even be updated? Or maybe that FAQ page is not even linked to their website. It could be held somewhere separately. Do you know how to access that community? Some tech companies, the resources and support that they provide is in the form of a community, and what they have are super users and hosts. But if you have a specific question about your particular event, if your event is happening right now in real time and something goes wrong and you don't know how to fix it, you don't know what the backup plans are, you haven't necessarily assessed and identified all of the risks, a support function that is email only or a community of other users in different time zones won't be helpful. So really ask those questions in the demo calls about this level, the type of support which is available. In addition to that, what kind of control or access do you have to the platform? Or if you are passing this directly on to your client, what level of control and access will they have? What I mean by that is, are they able to log in to the back end? Are they able to view the dashboard? Are they able to modify content, timings? Do they know how to switch user permissions for hosts and speakers and attendees? Do they know how to use the chat function? So what level of control and access do you and or your client have to that technology once you've made the purchase? What's included in the package? Now you can tell I'm on a roll now, right? So these are the kind of questions that you need to be asking of your client and also in these demo calls. What's included in this package? If we want X, Y, and Z feature, what is the cost? Is that a one-off cost? Is the cost up front, or are the costs hidden? Ask questions. The big thing is to spend time asking the questions and not just when is this event, how many people. Should we have a chat box function? Should we run a poll or a competition? When it comes to choosing your event technology, those things are of lesser importance in terms of making a wise, cost-effective choice. Because ultimately, buying technology for any business is a business decision. Okay, and quite often we have to find the money from somewhere to afford it, and we have to actually justify the return on investment to a stakeholder, to a CEO, to a board, or to ourselves if we're a solopreneur. So these are important questions to ask of ourselves, of a client, and also of an event technology company. So the time now is for your questions. If you do have any questions, please feel free to let me know now. Hold on a minute. I'm just going to have a look at the chat box function here.
Ashanti, your praises are being sung all across the world. It has been shouted out that they believe that you should be part of the DES faculty, and that your session has actually helped one of the participants. I believe it was Donna who said it even helped her prepare for her exam. You tied everything together.
Oh, brilliant.
So we already appreciate you.
Brilliant. Fantastic.
So one question that did come up earlier that I feel like always comes up is, what is your favorite platform? I know that's a loaded question. But I always like to put it out there.
Favorite platform? Oh dear. You know, here's the thing. I am not loyal to any particular platform, even myself personally. I am a true tech geek, and so I will use whatever platform does the job that I'm, trying to do at the time. I will say though, one of the most brilliant, and I've talked about this so many times before, I'm not an affiliate, I promise, is Hubelo. So I think what we found earlier this year is that trade shows in particular really struggled to adapt and pivot into the virtual space. The exhibition industry as a whole did, to be honest with you. And the truth is, at the beginning of COVID, many platforms were touting that they can take you virtual and they didn't have USPs. The thing about Hubelo was that it could do trade shows really, really well. And so I would say if you're doing any kind of expo, exhibition, Hubelo is one of the, it's also medium priced as well. That's the other thing as well. So I'd say Hubelo for trade shows and expos.
Excellent. That's actually a great point, is medium price point, low point. And then we have the conglomerates that are charging an arm and a leg and our firstborn. So we do understand the conglomerate. Let's talk about support. During the event, are you supporting me or just my attendees? How do we approach that conversation with our platform providers to make sure that we're getting what we need?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is why you need to be super clear and honest with your client or with yourself if you're buying for your own business about your internal resource. Who do you have in the business and what are their tech capabilities? Because here's the thing, there is a difference between being an event marketer, an event planner, and the technologist, the technician, whatever word we're using at the moment for this in the industry. There is a difference. And yes, it's absolutely possible for somebody to learn, become competent, but you have to be honest with yourself and your business about whether your current team can do that quickly enough and to the required level to support the event in the online space. So you need to be honest about what resource you have, what tech competency they have, and then go forth to the company and say, hey, we don't have enough tech resource. Do you provide that service? And on a quick note there, is this key thing about, look, people are talking about online events, right? And there's lots of courses and classes on this. And very few of them are talking about the technology itself and how you have to interact with it, modify it, customize it. Again, do you have that tech knowledge and know-how? Not people who can talk about it, people who can actually log in, look at a dashboard, look at the back end, find the data, connect the streaming key, those nitty-gritty details that you need.
I love that. Donna did ask if all of the questions that you had shared, if they will be available. The recordings will be available after the session, but we'll also make sure that we can get a copy of the slides uploaded for all of the attendees.
Brilliant.
Well, we have
Fantastic.
come to the end of a jam-packed session, and I truly appreciate you joining us. Where can everyone find you?
Sure. As always, it's on LinkedIn. So just find Ashanti Bentoji on LinkedIn. Connect with me. I hang out on LinkedIn.
Excellent. And if you forget how to spell the name, Ashanti is listed on our speakers tab. So don't hesitate to go there, and then you can get her information there as well. Thank you,
Brilliant.
everyone, and we'll see you at the next session.
Thank you for having me.